You want me to bring what to school? Kira Blackwood's voice came through the subspace communicator, filled with a mixture of disbelief and barely controlled laughter. Professor Zixel's tentacles wriggled in what passed for exasperation in his species. Miss Blackwood, I've explained this 3 times already. Tomorrow is Bring Your Pet to School Day at the Galactic Academy of Cultural Exchange. As the sole human representative, your participation is crucial for interspecies understanding. Kira bit her lip, trying not to burst into hysterics. Right. It's just, well, my pet might not be what you're expecting. Zixel's voice took on that condescending tone Kira had come to expect. Nonsense. We've done thorough research on Earth's domesticated companions. I'm sure whatever small creature you bring will fit right in with the glorals and fuzzbots the other students are bringing. Kira barely held back her laughter. If you say so, Professor. See you tomorrow, then. As the communication ended, Kira finally allowed herself to laugh, the sound echoing through her room. Wiping tears from her eyes, she turned to the large reinforced crate in the corner. Well, buddy, she said with a grin, looks like you're going to school tomorrow. A low growl rumbled from the crate, followed by the sound of something massive shifting its weight. Oh yeah, Kira chuckled. This is going to be fun. The next morning, the main atrium of Zixel's academy was alive with chirps, squeaks, and melodic trills as students from various species proudly displayed their pets, ranging from glowing orbs to sentient slime molds. Professor Zixel surveyed the scene with smug satisfaction. You see Headmaster Quicksack, a perfect demonstration of interspecies harmony. Headmaster Quicksack, a being resembling a sentient crystal formation, chimed softly in agreement. Indeed, Zixel, though I must admit I'm curious to see what our human student will bring. Earth's creatures are quite varied, I've heard. As if on cue, the atrium doors slid open with a hiss, revealing Kira Blackwood struggling to control a leash made of steel cable. At the end of it was by the cosmic egg. Zixel's tentacles went rigid in shock. Is that a... Yep, Kira beamed, giving the leash a tug. Everyone, meet Fluffy. Fluffy, as it turned out, was a full-grown Siberian tiger. The reaction was immediate. Glorals retreated into their shells, FBR sparked in terror, and at least 3 species fainted outright. Fluffy, meanwhile, looked utterly bored, lazily licking his massive paw as chaos erupted around him. Miss Blackwood. Zixel's voice climbed several octaves. What in the name of all that's holy is that? Kira put on an innocent expression. This is my pet, Professor. You said to bring a domesticated Earth companion, didn't you? But that's a predator. Zixel sputtered, his tentacles flailing. A killing machine. Kira gasped in mock offense. Professor, I'll have you know that Fluffy is a perfect gentleman. Aren't you, boy? She scratched behind Fluffy's ears, and to everyone's astonishment, the tiger began to purr a deep rumble that reverberated through the atrium. Headmaster Quicksack, observing with a mix of fascination and alarm, spoke up. Miss Blackwood, while your enthusiasm is appreciated, surely you understand the danger your pet poses to the other students? Kira shrugged, no more than some of the other pets here. I mean, look at Zek's pet, it's trying to consume the furniture. As if to make her point, Fluffy chose that moment to flop onto his back, paws in the air, clearly asking for belly rubs. Kira obliged, while a nearby student nervously asked, You rub its vulnerable underside? She grinned. He loves it. Want to try? The student quickly backed away, skittering across the floor. Professor Zixel, trying to regain composure, cleared his throat. Miss Blackwood, while your interpretation of the assignment is noted, this creature is simply not suitable for a school environment. Kira raised an eyebrow. And why is that, Professor? Is it because he's big? Because he has sharp teeth and claws? If so, then I'd like to point out Exhibit A. She gestured toward a student across the room, feeding live rodents to what appeared to be a carnivorous plant the size of a small car. Zixel's tentacles twisted in frustration. That's different. VX Potter's plant is a well-documented species bred for docility in academic settings. Kira's voice dripped with sarcasm. And I'm sure those rodents find it very docile. At least Fluffy here eats pre-killed, ethically sourced meat. As if on cue, Fluffy let out a massive yawn, displaying rows of gleaming teeth. Several nearby students yelped and scrambled backward, their pets forgotten. Headmaster Quicksack, amused, chimed in. She has a point, Zixel. We've already made accommodations for Miss Blackwood's unique biology. Perhaps we were too hasty in judging her pet. Zixel's tentacles drooped. Perhaps, but we can't allow this beast to roam freely. Kira laughed. Relax, Professor. Fluffy is perfectly well behaved. He won't go anywhere I don't let him. She unclipped the leash, and a collective gasp echoed through the room. Fluffy, sit. The tiger obediently sat on his haunches, looking every bit like an oversized house cat. Lie down. Fluffy stretched out across the floor, his massive paws resting contentedly. Stay. Kira walked several paces away. Fluffy remained still, his eyes tracking her movements but not moving an inch. Good boy. Kira called, and Fluffy's tail swished happily across the floor. The alien students and faculty watched in stunned silence. Here was a creature that should have been terrifying, yet it obeyed human commands with ease. You see, Kira said, turning back to Zix-L in quick sack. Fluffy is probably better behaved than most pets here, and I bet he's smarter too. As if on cue, a small spherical pet bounced onto Fluffy's nose. The tiger went cross-eyed for a moment, then gently batted the creature away with one massive paw. The sphere rolled harmlessly across the floor, chittering with what could have been fear or excitement. Kira smirked. Looks like Fluffy made a friend. The sphere's owner, a gelatinous blob of a student, oozed forward. Fluffy didn't eat bloop bloop? Kira chuckled. Of course not. Fluffy knows better than to eat other people's pets. She scratched behind Fluffy's ears, and the tiger's eyes closed in bliss. Gradually, curiosity began to overcome fear. Other students, their own pets in tow, crept closer. Fluffy regarded them all with regal indifference, occasionally sniffing at the boldest creatures that ventured too close. Remarkable, Quicksack chimed. Your Fluffy is quite the ambassador for Earth species. Kira beamed. See? I told you bringing him was a good idea. Now, who wants to learn how to give a tiger a belly rub? The rest of the day flew by. Kira found herself surrounded by curious aliens eager to learn more about Earth's predators. Fluffy, basking in the attention, allowed students to pet him under Kira's supervision and even played with some of the smaller creatures, batting them around gently. As the day came to a close, Professor Zix-L approached, his tentacles twisting in what Kira recognized as embarrassment. Miss Blackwood, I owe you an apology. Your Fluffy has been a most enlightening addition to our event. Kira grinned. No hard feelings, Professor. We humans can be a bit intense by galactic standards, but that's why interspecies exchange is so important. Zix-L's eye stalks bobbed in agreement. Indeed. Though I must ask, are all Earth pets so large? Kira's grin turned mischievous. Oh no, Professor. Some are much bigger. Ever heard of an elephant? Zix-L's tentacles curled in horror at the thought, and Kira laughed. Come on, Fluffy. Let's go home. I think you've terrorized the galaxy enough for one day. The tiger yawned, showing off his impressive teeth one last time before padding after Kira toward the exit. As they left, the excited chatter of students and faculty filled the atrium, discussing the creatures of Earth. Mission accomplished. Kira thought with a grin. If they thought a tiger was impressive, wait until they found out about honey badgers. As the doors slid shut behind Kira and Fluffy, the atrium erupted into a cacophony of squeaks, chirps, and thuds as aliens fainted once again. Professor Zix-L, his tentacles still quivering from the day's events, turned to Headmaster Quicksack. Well, he said, I suppose that's one way to promote interspecies understanding. Quicksack resonated with amusement. Indeed, though perhaps we should revise the rules next year. Bring your non-lethal companion day seems more appropriate. As the two administrators shared a chuckle, neither noticed a group of students huddled in the corner, furiously taking notes and whispering to each other. Did you see the size of those claws? Imagine what they could do in battle. Do you think the human would let us scan its DNA for purely academic purposes, of course? Word of Kira's pet spread through the academy like wildfire. Within days, the exobiology department was flooded with requests for more information about Earth's fauna. And the psychology department struggled to understand how humans could evolve alongside such predators and remain sane. Kira became the center of attention, fielding questions from students and faculty alike. So, these dogs actually live in your homes? A multi-eyed Zorak student asked one day. Kira nodded, taking a bite of her specially prepared meal. Yep, and they've been doing it for thousands of years. We have everything from tiny little yappers to breeds that make Fluffy look small. The Zorak blinked in disbelief. But why? Companionship, mostly, Kira shrugged. Some help with hunting or guarding, but mostly they're just there to be cute. The Zorak's eyes glazed over, trying to process this. Over time, Kira noticed a shift in how she was treated. The fear was still there, but now it was mixed with respect and a fair amount of awe. Even Professor Zix seemed to have come around. One afternoon, he approached Kira after class. "Miss Blackwood," he began, his tentacles twisting in excitement. "Would you be willing to give a guest lecture on Earth's approach to animal companionship?" Kira grinned. "I'd be delighted, though once I start, it might take a while." Zix's eye stalks bobbed enthusiastically. "Excellent. We'll schedule a full day. And perhaps you could bring Fluffy again?" Kira's grin widened. "Of course, Professor. Though we might need a bigger classroom." The day of the lecture, the auditorium was packed with students from every species. Some even clung to the walls with various appendages, the air thick with anticipation. Kira stood at the podium, with Fluffy lounging beside her. She cleared her throat, and the room fell silent. "Today," she began, "we're going to talk about the unique relationship between humans and Earth's animals." For hours, Kira captivated her audience, alternating between gasps of horror and awe. Fluffy, meanwhile, demonstrated tricks, much to the crowd's excitement. As Kira spoke of mutual respect and coevolution, Fluffy rolled onto his back, pawing playfully at the air, drawing a collective "AW" from the crowd. "This," Kira said, "is the result of millions of years of coevolution. Fluffy could easily kill me, but he doesn't, because we trust each other." The lecture concluded with thunderous applause. As students gathered around Kira, excitedly asking questions, Professor Zix approached. "Miss Blackwood," he began, "your lecture was illuminating. You've sparked a revolution in our understanding of interspecies relationships." Kira smiled, stroking Fluffy's fur. "Happy to help, Professor. Though I'm worried about what will happen when they find out about our more extreme pets." Zix's eyes quivered with curiosity. "Oh, such as?" Kira's grin turned wicked. "Well, there's this little creature called a tardigrade. 6 months after the infamous Bring Your Pet to School Day, the Galactic Academy of Cultural Exchange had transformed. The exobiology department had expanded, adding a new wing dedicated to Earth studies. The cafeteria now offered a Deathworlder menu, and in the courtyard, a new statue stood Kira, alongside a majestic tiger. The plaque read, "In honor of Kira Blackwood and Fluffy, who showed us that even in the harshest worlds, life finds a way to thrive and form bonds." Kira stood before the statue, shaking her head in disbelief. "Well, Fluffy," she said, "looks like we really shook things up around here." Fluffy yawned in response. Kira chuckled, "Just wait until they hear about the Honey Badger workshop next semester." As they turned to leave, a group of alien students approached. "Kira, can you tell us more about llamas?" Kira grinned. Life at the academy was never dull, and with Earth's vast array of creatures to draw from, things were bound to get even more interesting. After all, she hadn't even mentioned Australia yet.